Welcome to this podcast episode in which we'll be looking at the topic of meaningful business. My name is Dr. Alex Altersky from the School for Business and Society at the University of York. A warm welcome to my guest, Lucy Pembayan, founder of Leaf Translations. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what the idea of meaningful business means to you?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Lucy Pembayan. I'm the founder of Leaf Translations. We are a translation company based in York. So we specialise in website marketing and SEO translations. In terms of what meaningful business means to me, I would say it's about business with a purpose and business with the idea of it's about more than just making a profit. It's about bringing something positive to society and to the world and having a positive impact on those around you. So it's more than just business for money's sake.
Okay, great. So you're an entrepreneur, obviously, and can you tell me a little bit about your kind of startup journey, but also did you have these ideas around meaningful business as part of that startup journey?
Yes, of course. And yes, I did. So I was a German to English translator for many years. I worked as a freelancer. And when I was a freelance translator on the side, I ran a fair trade company with my ex-husband. So we spent a lot of time within the fair trade community working with other people who are really passionate about fair trade and who are really trying to promote fair trade as an idea and as a concept. And I think being around those people really helped ingrain the idea that business shouldn't. There's a sort of a greater good that business can contribute to. And when I decided to launch Leaf Translations, part of my motivation was I wanted to increase my positive impact. So as a freelance translator, you can talk about things on social media, but compared to someone that's got their own business or a successful company, your voice is pretty small. And so one of the main reasons I set up Leaf was because I wanted to kind of increase my positive impact, have more of a say, more of an influence on people around me. And I also kind of wanted to prove that any type of business can be ethical. So obviously back then, I think it has changed a bit now, but back then, ethical business was very much associated with fair trade and organic business companies. And there wasn't really much talk beyond that sphere of ethical business. And the translation industry is kind of known for having some fairly unethical practices. There's a sort of big agencies working with sort of the small freelancers, and there's a huge disparity in like the power dynamic isn't great. And I basically wanted to show that even a translation company can be an ethical business and can be based around ethical values, and that there's just no excuse. I think back then there were lots of stories in the press of really big corporations not paying tax.
Yeah.
I won't name them, but I think we all know who they are. They still exist, and whether they're paying tax now, I doubt. It motivated me to grow a business that's not associated with ethical values traditionally at all, not to do with fair trade, not to do with organic, the translation industry, and to show that if a translation company can be ethical, then literally any business can and should be, and there's no excuse anymore not to be.
So you've used the word ethical a few times. Mm-hmm. Does that come from kind of like your own values and beliefs, or does it link to the experience that you made with the working with the fair trade companies, or where's that come from?
Possibly. So I did study philosophy at university. Okay. So I did ethics at university. Yeah. So it probably does link to that. Like I've always been quite interested in the idea of kind of morality and ethics. So I think I do have quite a strong sort of moral compass, I guess, in a way. And I think studying philosophy has made that a bit more deeply ingrained in my head, that I tend to think about things from that perspective more than maybe other people would. And I think it's just sort of an all-encompassing word, I guess. I think ethical values, it's not just about sustainability, although that is a big thing, but it's about treating people fairly and doing what's right rather than following sort of greed and power as your motives.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, if we focus then on Leaf Translations, then, so what are the things that you're kind of doing in relation to developing the meaningfulness of the organisation, the purpose, the ethics, etc.? What could you give us any examples?
Yes, of course. So one of the main things for us, so we are a micro business. We're a very small business. We're fully remote, so we don't have any offices. We don't, because we work in translation, everything's digital. Like we don't have any physical product, so there's no packaging. So in the traditional sense of looking at it from the sustainability angle, for example, it's kind of hard to see like how that fits. So a big thing about what we do is we talk about what we do quite a lot. So for me, one of the big roles we have to play is about encouraging other small business owners to think about things through that sort of perspective. So in terms of sustainability, we've been working with Ecology since 2020. So they kind of have gamified tree planting. So they've got this great website where you can, and it's open to businesses and individuals. So you can create an account, and they basically they plant trees, but they also support global carbon projects, global environmental projects. Sorry. So they include things like installing solar panels, providing cleaner cooking stoves for communities in Africa, replanting rainforests. There's a wide variety. It's not just tree planting, but they equate your subscription, I guess, to a number of trees. So you can see your forest kind of growing and you get a lot of information back on the projects and things. So it's a really good kind of visual way of seeing the impact you can have. So we've been doing that since 2020 and we've planted 3,300 trees, I think, now, which I'm pretty proud of because we are a small business, and for us to have had that impact, I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah. But also just sort of talking about our journey and talking about the digital footprint, that's a really big thing for us because, as I said, we don't have any products or packaging. We don't have an office. It's kind of demonstrating to other similar businesses that there are still things you can do. And it's about looking at things. For me, one of the main things I think regarding sustainability is I think people are almost a bit scared to talk about what they're doing because of the fear of people saying, well, you're doing that, but you're not doing that, or you're doing that, but that's still got these issues. And I think there is a fear of that. And I think for me, it's about encouraging people just to take a small step in the right direction and to have that intention to keep moving forwards in a positive way and keep doing things that will then they can talk about, and that then encourages other people, and it's a snowball effect. So doing like talks and appearing on podcasts like this, just kind of spreading the positive word is another really important part of it for me. And it's something that motivates me to keep growing the business, essentially, because I set it up to increase my positive impact. And the bigger the business grows, the more successful it is, then the bigger an impact we can have.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, fantastic work you're doing, by the way. But there is some people in the literature who are criticising carbon offsetting programs as well. So there is that out there. I don't know enough about it to really comment, to be honest.
So I would say on that, I agree, and I think if it's used by I'd say certain industries that have very high carbon emissions as a sort of we're doing this, so you don't need to look at that. And I very much agree. I think with Ecology, the way it works, because they're supporting these global climate projects, it's not just planting trees. It's not just that basic sort of transaction. It's more, these are projects that meet the UN sustainability goals, so that Sustainable Development Goals. I should use the right terminology. So they're supporting these local communities as well and helping give them an income. And there's wider benefits than it just being we're planting trees to offset your carbon. And I think that's really important. And I think the criticism of tree planting is valid in a lot of cases. And I think it has become a bit like the Fair Trade label. Again, I don't know if I should name any corporations, but there was a big backlash back when we were working in that sphere, when it was given to some of the really big corporations that had quite a bad reputation for things like paying tax, and they started using the Fair Trade label, and it was a little bit of similar to greenwashing, essentially, and there was a really big backlash in the community about that. And I think it's all nuanced, isn't it? And I think it's very easy to be like, oh, all tree planting's bad. That doesn't count as a valid strategy, but actually it's not that simple.
Yeah, definitely. You touched upon the translation industry, and maybe if we've been focusing a little bit on sort of environmental type sustainability, but if we focus on other areas of meaningful business and potentially the way that employees are treated, and can you tell us a little bit more about that? And you wanted to make a difference in relation to that?
Yes, certainly. So I don't know if you've heard about the Good Business Charter, but so the Good Business Charter was set up by Julian Richer from Richer Sounds. I actually heard him talking on a podcast with, I think it was Mary Portas, like years ago, and he was talking about this Good Business Charter. And it's basically a charter with, I think it's 10 different values to encourage big businesses to adopt these values. And it's things like fair wages, equality and diversity, paying tax, sustainability. There's a list of 10 different values. And at the time, it was only open to businesses with, I think, over 10 employees. So I was like, right, I'm going to use it as my motivation to kind of grow the business. And then COVID happened and they opened it up to all businesses. So we were actually the first translation company in the UK to become a member of the Good Business Charter, which I'm quite proud of. So yeah, that is also another really important thing, and that fits in with the ethical values, I guess, that it does go beyond sustainability. And within the translation industry, like I said, with the freelancers, there's a lot of pricing pressure and a lot of pressure to accept work at a much lower price than is really, well, what should be paid. Translators are professionals. A lot of people think that if you can speak another language, you can translate, but it's a learnt skill. And I think there is a lot of pressure from big agencies on freelancers to lower their prices and to accept really short deadlines, and it's not got a great reputation, I think, the translation industry. So a big part of it is about one of the main things about Leaf Translations is we treat people as human, like we treat people as people, and we get a lot of feedback from our freelancers that it's really refreshing the way we communicate with them and the relationship we have with them, because we treat them like people, like they are an important part of the company, which they are. I mean, they are really, and they're not just sort of commodities that you so yeah, that's another really important thing, treating people like people, paying people fairly, paying tax is also really important.
Do you think that's contributed to? Because I know you've been very successful. Do you think that's contributed? You know, the way you've treated the staff. And everything?
I think definitely. I think, excuse me. I think our clients as well really buy into what we're trying to do and really buy into our values. And I think the way we treat people, we're very big. I guess I've created a company in my own image. I don't believe in sort of being overly formal for no reason, and do you know what I mean? Like, my way of doing business is very much treating people like people, being authentic with people, asking people how they are. Like, it doesn't have to be super formal and cold. Like, it's a very kind of different way of dealing with people than I think sort of the big, more corporate agencies than the way they treat people. And I think our clients really buy into that as well. And so most of our work comes from word of mouth recommendations. That we have a really good reputation within the industry, especially within the SEO industry. And yeah, I think it makes a big difference. I think people want to do business with good people. They want to do people with people that they like and that they respect. And I think, and for our freelancers as well, they want to work for us. They want to do a really good job, and it motivates them to do better work as well, because they feel like they're being valued rather than just being exploited. And I think that is really important.
They feel that they've got meaning in their work because of the values and culture and the way that they're treated.
Yes, exactly.
Sort of thing, which is making you more successful.
Exactly. And so one of our questions when people apply to work for us as a freelancer is we ask them a question around sustainability. So what do you do to reduce your own carbon footprint? So we naturally attract people that have those values anyway. And for people that don't, it kind of makes them think, oh, what am I doing? What else could I do? And I think that's also really important. And yeah, a lot of the freelancers that we work with really do have the same values as us, and they want to work with us because of our values. And that again leads to positive relationships and better work at the end of the day.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we're sort of talking all with quite a rosy perspective here, but are there any kind of challenges that you have to deal with in obviously you've built this company in your image and you've got these ethics and these values and purpose and meaning and all this are important to you, but are there challenges in delivering this?
I think, yes, I think for me, the main challenge is as a really small business, it's time, excuse me, it's finding the time and having the time and the resource to prioritize. I think sustainability, especially like all the research into digital footprint and the things that small businesses can do and sustainability audits, I think that's kind of moved on quite a lot since we set up. And I think for me, the thing that I would really like to be able to do more of is put more resource into that and to making sure that we are doing everything we possibly can do. And I think for small businesses, that is it's just the reality. Like when you don't have a big team, it is really hard to dedicate the time to things that you're kind of focused on doing the work, running the business, and keeping the business going, and it's almost a bit of a luxury to have the time to spend on that. So I'd say for me that's probably the biggest thing, and just feeling, because it is moving so quickly, keeping abreast of like all the latest developments and things as well. It's a time issue essentially.
But I suppose because you've set up the company in this way, it's almost like baked in a way.
Yes, that is true. And that is a big advantage of it as well. So all the decisions that have been made sort of over the years as it's grown have been based around that, and it's always in my head. So for example, with the hiring thing, putting that question in, that just kind of made sense about the sustainability, and it's whenever there's a new sort of development or a new process is developed, it is always part of the conversation, I guess. Like, is this aligned with our values? Is there anything extra we can do? And that definitely helps, like having it baked in from the beginning.
So talking about help, is there anything that any sort of external stakeholders or external agencies to you could do to help your business along in its meaningful business journey? So maybe other businesses or the council or the government or the community. Is there anything from outside or any help that?
I think one of the main things is the amount of, there's a lot of information, especially to do with things like sustainability, and it's I think some sort of clear guidance or some sort of clear, almost like a handbook for like micro businesses. Like how can you like what can you do to, like, I guess, reduce your digital footprint, or what are the things you need to consider, what are the things you should have set up in quite a sort of a simple form that's quite easy to follow, because there is just so much information out there, and there's a lot of organizations doing really good work and a lot of companies and consultants doing really good work, but it's knowing kind of where to look. And I think for a lot of small business owners, time is the thing, and it's just there's so many different things you've got to think about all the time, so many plates that you're spinning. You kind of need stuff to be like broken down into really clear, like this and this, and then you can implement that
like an IKEA instruction guide.
Yeah, exactly.
I never read them, to be honest. Well, I don't read them at first, and then I get stuck, and then think,
I love that. I love building things.
Yeah. No, that's a really interesting point. I mean, I think the thing about meaningful business is meaning can be different for different businesses, but I think some sort of guide to help you think about it and help you, that could be really useful.
And that, to be fair, the Good Business Charter, because they've got their 10 values listed out, and when you apply to become accredited, you have to talk about how you implement all the different values. So that does actually work quite well in that sense, I think. It's about knowing what to consider and making sure that you consider everything, but it is that on top of all the other stuff. And that's the problem.
Well, it sounds to me you're considering a lot.
Yes.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Lucy, for your incredibly valuable insights on meaningful business. things you've been talking about are so important, and I wish you the best of luck with all your future plans.
Thank you very much. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Until next time.